Review of council compensation. The recommendations that council approve the evaluation of council compensation by a consultant.
Moved by Councillor Grant, seconded by Councillor Rivette. The debate. Councillor Sampson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know the cost is not exorbitant. However, it's a new year. Province is downloading, and I'm totally against getting a consultant. I feel that 3 members of council and 3 members of the public at large could come up with an answer. I'm not in favor of a consultant in this matter. Thank you.
Any further debate on this? Councillor Clement, followed by Councillor Thibault.
I looked at this with great interest, and I had some exchange with the clerk to get some more information, to try and recall that we did do this in 2010, that we had I think more of a citizen committee do this. And if I recall correctly, we were told then that we were not compensated very richly as compared to other areas, other municipalities in the province. And if I recall correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we ignored that report. So, my feeling is that if we're going to spend $10,000 this year, to be told probably the same thing, but by a consultant, which we might very well ignore again, because as we know, in an election year, politicians don't tend to vote for themselves any kind of increase. So I would think that we shouldn't spend this money at this time to do this through a consultant. I would say that we should, if we need to review it at this time, because it's been 4 years, that we use the process that we used in 2010, or have a new council look at it once they've settled into their roles, take a different approach and maybe bring a different attitude to it. I will not support spending money at this time for a consultant on this process, because my fear is that we'll spend the money and ignore the recommendations once again. I am comforted by the fact that we do have, I think, a cost of living clause with the compensation package for councillors, so there is a slight increase with cost of living every year, so we're not, we're at least getting that, and that was voted in some time ago. But as for using a consultant, I would not support that. Maybe, hopefully, a new council will look at it. But we ignored it the last time, and I don't see us doing that any differently this time.
Thank you. Councillor Thibault, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm pretty well on the same wavelength as Councillor Clement. I look forward to an election campaign when somebody's going to stand up and say, we're going to vote ourselves a raise. One of the first things we're going to do as a new council. That should be interesting to see where that person finishes. But I agree that there has to be an evaluation of where we are as compared to other municipalities. But again, if you ask the average taxpayer out there, they'll say that most of us are way overpaid for what we do. Thank you.
Councillor Grant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't care what anybody says. Everyone thinks everybody is overpaid, regardless of what their compensation is. But you know, we hired a firm to look at our administrative compensation package and brought back a recommendation to get to the 50th percentile. And I think it's only fair. I think people recognize the effort that's put forth. And I personally have never heard anybody come up to me and say, you get too much compensation for what you do. I think they recognize that it's a tough job, and that people that maybe we won't agree with the report, but we may agree with it. And I'm not afraid to stand up and say, this is what other municipalities are getting, and I think this is fair compensation if we do decide to give it an increase. I know it's good politics to say, oh, I shouldn't have a raise. But as far as I'm concerned, you should be compensated for the effort that you put in, and I'll support this 100%.
Councillor Rivette, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I also will support 100%, Mr. Mayor. That's why I seconded. I think it's, if you're doing your job and you're giving the people of the community their money's worth, they're not going to kick about it. I think it's important that we be compared with other communities, because it's got to a point now, Mr. Mayor, I think that we're delivering a lot of the services to the counties, and we're all responsible for this stuff. So, you know, this all coming through us to go there. It never did before. So I think it's important that we take a look at what, and I don't think in 2010, I don't think that was even looked at. But I think that it's important that we look at apples and apples and compare apples and apples and be paid accordingly. And I personally myself, Mr. Mayor, I'll stand up in front of a podium and the election day and tell them the same thing. So, thank you. If I run.
You want to repeat that?
If I run.
Councillor McDonald, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wonder if I can suggest a friendly amendment. Tell me if I'm in order or not. I wonder if we could move this resolution to January 2015 and let the new council deal with it to remove the fear many people have of people playing to the election reality rather than to the justice involved in any compensation for employment. And I think, because I do believe, I think we're underpaid for what we do, but I think that the fact that we are underpaid and we put a lot of time into this, it plays against young people getting on council, even wanting to be on council, because for the amount of time you have to put in and the little return you get, unless you've got a pension, it's not really a practical venture. So I think if we were to move this to 2015, January, it would be good for us to deal with it
Is
now.
that amendment in order, Madam Clerk?
Well, it's a lot longer than one we usually do, but it's not impossible to do.
I wonder how we can make it short. Just put in the time. Just say.
Council, you would wish for the whole evaluation process to go to 2015? Or just...
Yes, I think so. Or let that it be done by a consultant, because I think we have to have some validity to the conclusions. Not that what council came up with in the community group last time, but really we need people with experience in looking at workplace and recompense.
Do you want the evaluation done now and the decision in 2015, or do you want the whole thing in 2015?
Well, either would work, I think.
Well, you have to we need some direction from council here.
Well, then,
Could I just suggest something? Would it be appropriate to say that council approve the evaluation of the council compensation by a consultant to be completed in January 2015? Is that your intent?
that would be great.
Is there a seconder? Councillor Thibault. Well, the debate's on the amendment. Councillor Rivette.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we're being fair to anybody running that is going to be elected. I think it's what you're asking is to vote on something that somebody's going to come back and say, well, you knew what the job paid when you first went for it. I think now the situation is we have the experience around here over the last, well, most of the 2 terms, some 1 term, they're very knowledgeable. Mr. Mayor, I think it's our job to set the rate for the people coming in, and I think that's what the clerk has told us. By law, we have to do this. Is that all right?
It has to be done every 4 years.
Pardon me?
It has to be done every 4 years.
There we go. So what I'm saying is, it's let's stand up and put it forward and not be scared to at least, if they want to throw whoever's running, throw us out. I think that at least the people coming in are going to be well compensated because we know the work that's involved. We know the meetings, and we're tapping 200, 250 meetings a year. I think that's important that we recognize that and make sure that people coming in are compensated properly for the job that they have to do. Thank you.
Councillor Gardner, please.
Well, I'm not going to agree with it because I remember the first year, the first time I was elected, that was one of the first things that was brought to a new council. And for myself, I gave the increase that we got to, I think it was United Way, because I didn't know how much work was going to be involved. And then later on, a couple of years later, I brought another motion forward that we would look at it at the last quarter of our mandate. And I think that's still on the book somewhere. So, as far as I'm concerned, fair compensation is what we're looking for here, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think we need to look at what other communities are compensated, what the councillors and mayor are compensated there, and a consultant to do that. Initially, I wanted to do it the way the old way we did it, but we don't listen to them. So let a consultant come in, let them do the research that has to be done properly, and come back to this council and say, this is what the value of the work that you do is. Fair compensation, that's all it's about.
Councillor Duppel, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to the clerk, a question of clarification. If it has to be done every 4 years and it was done in 2010, then is the amendment even in order?
January 2011 was when it was done last time.
So not 2010?
No.
Okay.
So it's just on the cusp.
Councillor Grant, followed by Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would support the amendment as well. I'm not afraid to stand up and count it and realize the effort you put forth here. When we go to AMO, et cetera, we talk to our confreres and we realize the discrepancy in compensation. And I'm not afraid to stand up, and if people don't want to elect me because for that reason, then that's fine too. So, but I think it's only fair that we go ahead, and to me, pushing it to the next council is basically putting our responsibility on them, and that's not fair.
Thank you. Councillor Murphy, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through you, it says up to $10,000. Is there an exact figure for this, Martin James? A little higher figure?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I think we've got a range right now, somewhere between 7,000 and 10,000, and there's a few things to iron out that may be in or out of that evaluation. So it'll be close to 10, but more than 7 kind of thing. That's about all. We don't really have a fixed price at this point.
And this won't take effect until the next council, of course. It goes that far. Is that correct? Okay. And we did one. The last one took effect January 11th. So the previous council undertook the same exercise with a different committee makeup. I believe it was made up of 3 and 3, if I'm not mistaken. 3 from the business community, 3 councillors.
There was 3 from the business, and it was postponed several times, which is why it only came back in January 2011.
Okay. And just because we agree to do this doesn't mean just because we agree to this report doesn't mean we have to agree with its findings, correct? Like any other report that comes before us. I don't mind looking at this. Let it out there, whether I agree or disagree. I knew what the score was when I signed up, and I'm not complaining. So I'll be comfortable with my decision when the report comes. Thank you.
Councillor Sampson.
I really can't believe it. 2014, we're starting out new, but yet we're going to invoke consultants now for us. I'm looking at the crew around this table, and it's the most intelligent crew from diversification, from all different walks of life. And we can't sit here and even decide what we're going to do for ourselves. I'm totally against consultant in any way, in any form, except if it's to get a federal government grant or a provincial grant, and that we have to hire a consultant. We have a good group, very intelligent. We got the best staff in the whole province around this table. We can pick people out there and the public can hear what they want. We're supposed to be there to represent them. I don't believe in hiring any consultants unless it's attainable to get a federal or provincial grant. I'm totally against the form and the manner that we do it ourselves with 3 from this council and 3 from the outside. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Councillor Klima.
I'm not going to support the amendment, although I must say that Councillor McDonald's points are well taken. It would be a good thing to have a better compensation package, especially if it helps to attract younger candidates who would more easily fit that into their financial lives at this point. However, I don't think that a consultant is necessary. And it's not that I'm anti-consultant. I have often around this table voted for consultants because staff and council often need the expertise of persons who do this one thing, and we need their assistance. But if I remember correctly, and it seems to me that the report that we had from that committee came to this particular council in 2011. So everybody around this table had that report. It's far away now, but that report, if I remember correctly, was quite detailed. The committee had spent quite a lot of time. We have the local expertise of people with human resource backgrounds that actually sat down, met, had serious discussion, consulted with other municipalities, and put together something that was quite involved and quite complex. I think we have the expertise locally to be able to do that. So I don't support that that we move forward with a consultant on this, not because I'm against consultants under all circumstances, but in this circumstance, the last report we had was a good one, and we chose to ignore it.
Any further debate on the amendment? Councilman, recorder's vote? Okay. All those in favor of the amendment? Opposed? The amendment is defeated. Back to the main question. Any further debate on the main question? Councillor Thibault already spoke to the main question. No, the amendment is defeated.
I want to speak to the main motion. I haven't spoken to the main motion.
Oh, okay, my correction. Councillor Thibault?
Thank you, Your Worship. I take Councillor Clément's comments in a very positive light. I think the information that was presented before made a lot of sense. Had been great research, and the utilization of a consultant, $7,000 to $10,000. You could turn around and say, take that amount of money and make it as part of the compensation package instead, and you have the first year, potentially the first 2 years covered accordingly. My approach to this will be to vote against the consultant perspective, from the idea that we should be having a look at the package that was presented before, and if there's great information there, then we should be moving forward with it in that fashion and utilize these particular funds in a way in order to enhance the compensation with the $10,000 instead of the other way. But again, consultants sometimes can provide the certainty that when it's administration coming to us, we have a tendency to sort of slough it off. But when it comes from a consultant, we turn around and we say, wow, it comes from a consultant, they're experts. But we also have to remember that consultants are experts at telling us exactly what we want to hear. So we have to make a decision on that. Thank you, Your Worship.
Councillor Grant? Point of clarification?
No, just going to sum up. There's nobody else.
Just a moment. Is anyone any further debate? Clarification, Councillor Rivet?
Mr. Mayor, through you, and I know Councillor Thibault sat on the police board many years. I think that we bring in a consultant to deal with contracts, to negotiate a contract. The fire department, we go to arbitration half, 3/4 of the time. The city employees, I know they bring somebody in who's retired and brought in to pay extra to sit down in negotiation. We're not asking any different. South Stormont has just settled their increase by bringing a consultant in. So I don't think we're doing anything here out of the ordinary. I think it's just making sure that the people understand we're not taking them for a ride, but we get the information to let them know what's out there, what they're paying their counselors. I think it's important that they know that. And like some of the guys said, but I said you have to live with the consultant report. If you want to get the consultant in here, you're going to ignore it. Well, then yeah, I say don't bother getting it, because I think that's what we have to do. And we bring in help on other negotiations. So I think it's important that we understand that. It's just not council that's doing that.
Any further debate on the compensation review? Councillor Grant, close the debate, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was the one that brought this up to the CEO's attention, because I did research on it. I researched other communities that use lay appointments to do this compensation package, and they said there's no comparison to what the lay appointments did compared to what a consultant does. A consultant is a professional. They go out, they know where to research, how to research, etc. And I'm not belittling the committee that we had last time, because they did a good job. But a consultant does a much better job because he knows where to look and how to look, and those contacts are there. And some of the consultants that I talked to, and I tried to pursue that further, they said they gave a full explanation of what they do, and it wasn't even close to what our lay appointment committee did. So the reason for a consultant is to get more thorough, and the reason we use consultants all the time is for that reason, so we get the proper information and do a comparison from a professional perspective.
The question is, all those in favor?
Recorded vote, please.
A recorded vote. All those in favor? Oh, so, yeah, in favor. Opposed? Motion carries.